My name is Jennifer Hiltwine, and I'm the R&D specialist here at CIT, and I'm pleased to have the opportunity today to introduce you to the Commonwealth Research Commercialization Fund, or CRCF. Today's presentation will focus on the program, the recently announced FY2017 solicitation, and the letter of intent, or LOI process. At the end of the session, I'll open up the conversation for some Q&A. But before we get started, let me point out that all participants have been placed on mute to avoid any background noise or feedback. Questions may be submitted anytime during or following the presentation by expanding your webinar control panel and typing your questions into the questions feature. This session, as with all CRCF webinars, is being recorded. The slides will be available on our website by close of business today, the same place that you registered for today's presentation, and the recorded version will be available by midweek next week. CRCF began 5 years ago, and the program is currently in its 8th round. To date, we've announced 232 awards totaling almost $20 million. CRCF is available to for-profit technology businesses, public and private colleges and universities, federal research facilities, university research consortia, and other nonprofit research institutions across all regions of the Commonwealth. CRCF is conducted entirely online for applications. Program guidelines, templates, and other application materials are online via CIT's website, and the process for submitting LOIs and subsequently applications is handled online as well. Hard copies or submissions via email are not accepted. In FY17, $2.8 million has been appropriated to CRCF for a single solicitation. This is again a limited submission round, and institutional submission caps exist for all 5 programs. I especially want to call this out for any college or university faculty members participating today, as most, or if not all, of Virginia colleges and universities conduct an internal competition to select those projects that will be submitted on behalf of the institution. Their internal deadlines may be coming up by the end of the month, so if you are a faculty member interested in applying for funding in an eligible program, we recommend you reach out to a staff member from your Office of Sponsored Programs as soon as possible for more information on that specific organization's internal process. CIT will hold all LOIs submitted by university researchers until a list of that institution's approved submissions are provided. This slide shows the 5 CRCF programs against the innovation continuum. CRCF is designed to support earlier stage and proof of concept research, as well as projects that may be further along. The goal of the CRCF program is to drive economic growth in the Commonwealth by investing in technology commercialization. A week and a half ago, CIT announced the RFP for the FY17 solicitation. The first deadline you'll want to keep in mind is the LOI deadline on November the 10th. Submissions are due by 5 p.m. Eastern Time on that Thursday. For those applicants invited to continue in the process, applications are due by noon on Thursday, January the 19th. Late submissions will not be accepted for any deadline. Award announcements are planned for early June 2017. Project work in FY17 must align with one of 7 primary industry sectors: advanced manufacturing, cybersecurity, energy, information technology, life sciences, unmanned systems, and environment. In the environment sector, projects must align only with water quality. CRCF is seeking applicants with a clear idea of an unmet need or opportunity. This technology should exhibit strong potential to benefit the Commonwealth economically. Applicants need to have a thought-through and a realistic picture of the CRCF project and a commercialization strategy. When will commercialization occur, and what will it take to get there? Choose projects for which CRCF funding will be meaningful to advance the technology to the point where it will be attractive for larger-scale public or private funding. Applicants should decide whether timing is right. Are resources identified and available, such as team members and partners? Is an IP strategy thought through? I mentioned the need for having a realistic picture of the project, and this includes an achievable plan of work, budget, and timeline. When you decide your technology and project is at a stage where CRCF is the right fit, there are 5 programs to consider, 3 of which support Virginia's private sector: the Commercialization Program and the SBIR and STTR Matching Funds programs. All 3 programs have a $50,000 award cap per project, and companies are invited to submit up to 2 applications for distinct projects this round. Those 2 submissions could be in any combination of programs. The Commercialization Program helps for-profit technology companies commercialize proof-of-concept technologies that have a reasonable probability of enhancing Virginia's national and global competitiveness. Applicant companies must have Virginia as the principal place of business for the firm and its CEO. They may have received no more than $3 million in sales revenue over the last 5 years and no more than $2 million in private investment other than that of friends, family, and founders. If a company has received federal funding, they may have received no more than 10 SBIR or STTR awards total. The SBIR and STTR Matching Funds programs support Virginia companies who have received federal funding through these programs. CRCF awards may advance the federal award, cover work not supported by the federal award, or fill the gap between phase submissions. Applicants must be Virginia-based technology companies with at least 51% of its employees in Virginia and 51% of its property in Virginia. They must also employ fewer than 12 full-time employees. Additional eligibility criteria exists, including caps on the number of Phase 1 and Phase 2 awards a company may have received. I recommend consulting the program guidelines for complete details. This would go for all CRCF programs that I'll talk about today. Lastly here, I had mentioned that a company must have received an SBIR or STTR award. In fact, a company may have submitted an application and is currently waiting an award decision by the federal agency. These individuals or companies would still be eligible for CRCF this round. If a CRCF award is recommended in June, receipt will be contingent upon the federal award also being made. Prior CRCF award recipients are eligible to submit and receive an FY2017 CRCF award. Projects may be a continuation of a previously funded project or may be for new work. This applies to applicants under any program. The CRCF Matching Funds program is the first of our non-private sector programs. It's for Virginia's public and private colleges and universities, federal research labs located in Virginia, university research consortia that includes Virginia college or university members, and other nonprofit research institutes in the Commonwealth. The goal of this program is to assist these organizations commercialize a technology by leveraging non-Commonwealth of Virginia funds. Projects under the Matching Funds program, as well as the private sector programs discussed a few moments ago, ought to be high potential and offer opportunity for commercialization and economic impact in Virginia. CRCF projects are expected to focus on technology development work, but monies may also be used for market validation, IP protection, acquisition of materials and supplies, and/or other efforts to support commercialization. Caps on some of these areas do exist, and the program guidelines I mentioned will give the complete details. Under the Matching Funds program, an organization may submit up to 4 LOIs and applications and receive up to 4 awards total. Each award or each application may be for up to $100,000. A principal investigator may submit up to 2 of these. The final program offered this round is the Eminent Researcher Recruitment Program. $250,000 is eligible to Virginia's public universities to assist with the recruitment of a top scholar to that institution. The researcher must offer an opportunity for valid research and significant commercialization in Virginia. Recruitment can be at one of 3 stages. A candidate has been identified, multiple candidates are under consideration, or a profile has been developed for an ideal candidate. Funding under the Eminent Researcher Recruitment Program can be used for startup package support, salary supplement, supplies, equipment, lab upgrades, and other potential uses. I'll mention again that for either of the programs offered to our colleges and universities, researchers need to be in touch with their offices of sponsored programs as soon as possible to learn the internal down-select process for submitting to CRCF. All 5 CRCF programs have a matching funds component. For all but the SBIR and STTR matching funds programs, funds must be provided in an amount matching or exceeding the funds requested from CRCF. These funds must be active and available during the proposed CRCF period of performance. Matching funds can be federal, private, or other non-Commonwealth of Virginia funds that support the same work proposed to CRCF and align with the period of performance. Matching funds could also come from other sources, such as waived salaries or indirect costs, materials or supplies, time on equipment, travel, or consultor or subcontractor work. Letters of intent, or LOIs, are a required element of the CRCF application process. They help CRCF confirm program eligibility, but also gauge potential interest and begin identifying subject matter experts for the review process. LOIs must be submitted using the online form. A sample LOI is available to download from CIT's website and is previewed on the next couple of slides. As you're preparing your LOI, keep in mind that the letter of intent and the intent for the CRCF program is the commercialization of high potential technology for which IP and revenue will be generated and economic outcomes are envisioned for Virginia. When starting an LOI, applicants will be asked to select the CRCF program type for which the project is intended. Based on that selection, applicants will be asked to confirm their organization type. You'll recall that program eligibility is based, in part, on the organization type. Program guidelines will aid you in a complete understanding of eligibility criteria. Next, you'll be asked to enter a project title and select a primary industry sector to which your project most closely aligns. The information entered in these 2 fields will roll over into your application and cannot be changed at that point. Project titles can be no more than 150 characters and should describe in layman's terms the proposed project. Applicants submitting more than one LOI should provide distinct project titles and project descriptions for each submission. Project descriptions may be a maximum of 2,000 characters or about a third of a page, and is expected to provide a high-level overview of the proposed project. This includes identifying the opportunity, project objectives, key activities in the plan of work, and the status of IP. Project descriptions should also be in layman's terms. We encourage you to use all available space for this overview. Finally, all applicants are asked to certify their eligibility, that is, to confirm that their organization is compliant with the eligibility criteria outlined in the program guidelines. Finally, all LOIs ask for the PI's name and contact information and their organization's name, city, state, zip code, tax ID, and website. LOIs intended for the SBIR and STTR matching funds programs have 3 additional fields. Because the federal award serves as the project match for these programs, the award number of the federal SBIR or STTR award that will serve as the match, or the estimated date of award if the federal proposal is still under review or not yet submitted is requested. Additional fields include whether the award or the proposal is a Phase 1 or Phase 2, and the federal agency who has made or will make the award. This is a sample letter of intent. As mentioned on an earlier slide, a PDF version is available to download from CIT's website for your convenience. This sample is only meant to give example of the fields on the online form and is not meant for submission purposes. All LOIs must be submitted through the online form. Hard copies or forms submitted via email will not be accepted. Once you complete all applicable fields on the online form, click Submit. A confirmation will appear on your screen and an automatically generated email will be sent to you confirming receipt by CIT. Please note that it may take a little while for the online system to release the email, and it may not be instantaneous. However, if you don't receive the notification within several hours after submission, please contact the CRCF team at crcf@cit.org. You do not have to submit an LOI that has been started. On the final review screen, next to the option to submit, you'll also see an option to save only. You can click this button to save the LOI and come back and finish working at a later time. LOIs must be submitted by the deadline, though, to be considered. Once an LOI is received, CIT will review and respond within 5 business days. If the LOI meets the program requirements, the applicant will receive an email with next step instructions. Each project invited to continue will also be assigned a unique reference number that CIT will use moving forward to identify the project. This number will be pre-populated into the application and must be used in the file naming convention for uploaded application documents. CIT reference numbers are an internal identification system developed to identify the program the project was submitted under and the industry sector. In some cases, upon review of your LOI, the CRCF team may have questions or require clarification of the work to be conducted before approving the project. If this happens, the applicant will receive 2 emails, the first from CIT with the information being requested, and the second, which is also automatically generated, with instructions to revise and resubmit the LOI. Complete information on the FY2017 solicitation is available via the URL on your screen. Here you'll find the sample LOI for download, a sample budget, FAQs, and links to register for more or view recorded webinars offered this round. You'll notice the December and January will offer 2 sessions each of the application process and completing the budget webinars. I invite you to also participate in one of each of those sessions. From this URL, you will also be linked to program pages where you'll be able to download guidelines, proposal and budget templates, and sample applications. If at any time throughout this solicitation you have questions, my team is available via crcf@cit.org. This would also be the email account to send a note should you wish to be included on CRCF listservs for future announcements. So what's next? First, as I mentioned a couple of times already, if you are a faculty from a Virginia college or university and you intend to submit to CRCF on behalf of that institution, go talk to your Office of Sponsored Programs now. For everyone, the letter of intent deadline is coming up. Make sure to mark your calendars for November 10th at 5 p.m. to get your LOIs in. Finally, check out the many resources available to you in the CRCF application process. Participating in or viewing this webinar is a great first step. I think you'll also find the FAQs to be a handy supplemental resource during the process. With that, this concludes the prepared portion of the webinar. I'd now like to invite any questions you may have at this time. Again, questions can be submitted by expanding the webinar control panel and using the questions function. I'll address questions in the order they come in as best as possible for the benefit of all participants. If a question requires more information, I'll follow up with that individual separately at the conclusion of the session. All right, our first question is, what qualifications does an LLC company need to meet in order to qualify? So LLCs are eligible companies for either the commercialization program or either the SBIR or STTR matching funds programs, depending on whether or not that LLC has a federal award. In order to qualify, you would need to meet the qualifications for that particular program. If you'll recall, for commercialization, the firm needs to be located in Virginia, and so does the CEO. There needs to be no more than $3 million in sales revenue over the last 5 years, and no more than $2 million private investment outside of that from friends, family, and founders. So provided that the company meets those criteria, certainly the LLC is eligible. Our next question is whether the SBIR or STTR programs have to be for $50,000, $100,000, or can it be anywhere in between those two amounts? In fact, this is a great question that applies to all of our programs. So the award cap is just that. It's the maximum that can be requested and awarded through a particular program. You are more than welcome to propose a project for anywhere in between up to that amount. If you have a $35,000 project and you want to request just that amount of funds from CRCF, that is certainly doable, and we'd ask that your plan of work with the milestones and activities to be undertaken reflect the budget that you're proposing. I'll mention too that you can think of these programs in the bigger picture. And I mentioned that there's a matching component for all of our programs. That is a one-to-one match. And I'll use our commercialization program, the private sector one, for an example here. Let's say you were to request $50,000, that award cap from CRCF. You would be matching that with $50,000 of your own funds, whether that's waived salary, time on equipment, waived indirects. Essentially, you would be looking at a $100,000 project in total, but part of the 50% of that would be coming from CRCF and 50% of that would be coming from the company itself. So you can think about that in those terms. Let's see. We have a question about going over the LOI certification again as part of the online submission process. Yes. So we are asking all of our applicants to go through the program guidelines in detail, to go over those eligibility criteria, both the high-level overview that I've talked about here, but also the additional details that are provided in those guidelines. So when you go to submit your LOI, you're asked for the project description and some other contact information, but we're asking you to in fact certify that your company meets those criteria that's laid out in the guidelines. It's that extra layer of your commitment that in fact you haven't received more than $3 million in sales revenue if you're a private company applying under the commercialization program, and different things like that. We're asking you to confirm to the best of your knowledge that you in fact meet those criteria. And CIT does do our due diligence in the review of all of the LOIs and applications to confirm that as well. But we don't want you to waste your time going through the process if in fact you're not eligible for the program based on those criteria. It's a checkbox that you would simply mark and move on to the next page. Is there a difference in the type of work that is supported by matching funds and commercialization fund? And do both support work in early stage research and prototype development? So yes. If you're talking about the matching funds in terms of the SBIR and STTR matching funds, which is the program available to the private sector along with the commercialization fund, then in fact work could be similar. The difference in the two programs, or the three programs for that matter, is that the SBIR and STTR are supporting work that's already been backed by the federal award, by that federal agency. So the work may advance a project that's already underway through that federal award. It may help fill the gap if you're a phase 1 company and trying to get to a phase 2, or it may cover tasks that your federal award doesn't. Similarly, if you're talking about the commercialization program and our other programs, that would be a focus still on that technology development effort. So things that are going to advance your project and advance your technology towards the market, that end result being economic outcomes here in the Commonwealth. Early stage work is perfectly acceptable if you're developing that prototype, if you're testing it, if you're trying to make sure that all of the widgets and the details of that particular technology are in place, the software is functioning the way it needs to be. Whatever your particular technology happens to be, CRCF can come in at that earlier stage and support that work. And certainly, if you still have additional questions or the answers that were provided during today's session still leave you wondering or curious about certain things, please don't hesitate to reach out again to crcf@cit.org. It's a general inbox that's monitored by myself as well as some other team members, and we're all able to review your question and get back to you. So again, if you have any other questions or follow-up questions from today's session, please keep that as a resource throughout the solicitation. We're here to help you and make sure that you're qualified and that you submit the best possible materials and applications to CRCF this round. While you're also thinking if anything else comes to mind, I mentioned the webinars that will be forthcoming in December and January focusing on the application and the budget. And one of the reasons that I really encourage participation in those sessions as well is that we really go over in depth the application process. What are the different materials that you're using? What are we looking for in a strong proposal? So we go over tips about what makes strong proposals, what doesn't, what are some things that we see as pitfalls in submissions that we've received over the last several years. So if you're looking into ways to really make sure you're submitting what we're looking for, I highly recommend attending both of those sessions. And similar to today, they run about half an hour and have an opportunity for Q&A. Again, if you're not able to participate in a live session, they all are recorded and available on CIT's website. Okay, well, I haven't seen any more questions come through over the last 5 minutes or so. If you have any other thoughts, again, the crcf@cit.org email address is the perfect place to go to submit those questions at any time during the solicitation. I also really want to thank you for taking half an hour out of your lunch or your morning here for the CRCF webinar. I hope that you found it useful, and we really do look forward to receiving applications from many or all of you during this round. So thank you very much, and I hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend. Bye-bye.